Hey, it's Balrog. Welcome back to the final installment of my guide to the Monopolized achievement for the Halo Master Chief Collection. We have reached the Great Journey. I have no skulls on for this mission, but I do have quite a number of alternative strats to show to make this mission go as smoothly as possible for you, give you lots of options. So, let's get into it. One of the strategies I'm going to show involves taking the first Spectre here into the final room to fight Tartarus with it. So as soon as our elite friend here parks it, we're going to kick him out of the driver's seat and give him a little gift here of this plasma grenade. It is important that Elite dies or he might walk back over and take the Spectre, and we want to stay parked right here. Hop out and stick close to this wall, fire a couple of shots to lure a ghost over, and then camo while still behind the wall and sneak up and hijack one. Do note that our Wraith friend there loves to completely ignore the fact that you are hijacking the ghost, and sometimes tries to shoot or run you over while in it, which may result in some pain. Follow this path around, and I do want to note before we go farther, I do have an alternate strategy for everything we're about to do with the Ghost and the Spectre, so if you have any trouble with anything you're about to see, there are alternatives in the video as well. So here, we're going to go up to this wall and then immediately turn around and go back toward the beach. This is going to despawn those two wraiths and everything up here, so we can just drive through and get right in that door without having to fight anything. I like to swap to anniversary graphics here and make this left right around this corner, and as soon as you see these little mushrooms on the wall, go right past them and you know you are far enough to go back. And if you look right under that scarab's leg, you can see the wraith despawn right now. And that is all clear, we can go on in. So for the first strategy, I'm going to be driving this ghost pretty much through the entire level until we get to the scarab. Note, there is a crate of carbine right to your right. I did not get it in this run, but you may want to. And again, this driving is difficult, so I have included alternative methods as well. You want to kind of go through this door, immediately boost onto this ramp, take a little break here, and then boost again right to this door here. You sometimes get blown up waiting for this door to open, but just go ahead and go through, and then get right out, and camo, get right back into the ghost, and then hold the jump button and ramp over here. Your ghost does occasionally flip there, if so just flip it back over as soon as you can and then get back in and get to this section and you are safe, and that is the hardest part of this level. I will show a tutorial and alternatives for that jump here in a moment, but for now grab this beam rifle and kill that jackal sniper. He may be on either of those sides. Then turn your attention to these jackals, making sure you do not cross this threshold right here. As I did not grab a carbine from that crate, I do have to deal with these guys using just the beam rifle and the plasma grenades, but it is what it is. Going back for the ghost now, but I did want to mention as soon as we break that threshold I talked about, it triggers a phantom to come and we want to be out of here by the time it arrives. More on that soon with the alternative strat. So bring the ghost up here and get out. We're going to just go past the buggers. Again, camo right here, and try to drive better than I do past these guys. Get through this door as soon as you can and to the other side. But before we get too far ahead of ourselves here, I want to rewind and show a tutorial for this jump here. So this jump here is quite a bit inconsistent. You can often get blown up by one of the 88 brutes on this path, and the two brutes out here just love jumping into or in front of your ghost as you're trying to do the jump and mess you up. So the actual jump is this. We're going to try to jump over this part with the ghost, while holding the jump button of course, and we're going to try to fly across to this little rock structure here, and then either slide or flip over to the floor over here, and then just boost through to the door. And we do want to make sure to camo before we get into the ghost as well, as there are quite a few brutes over here that might shoot us and knock us off. Remember, if you camo and then get into the ghost is invisible to enemies as well until your camo runs out. So you want to be lined up kind of how I am here. You don't want to be lined up too far to the right like this, or you will probably flip and not quite hit the floor there. You kind of want to bank off of this rock as I mentioned. You do want to do it from kind of far back here, and remember, there will be a couple of brutes over here harassing you. So, camo, get back into the ghost, hold jump and boost, hit this little rock formation here, and it should flip you right onto this platform. And then you of course want to go to the next room immediately because there will be brutes on you. So now I'm going to jump to an alternative run to show a different way to get through this part without the ghost. Also note that I pulled up in this Spectre because I won't need it for Tartarus this run, and I'm going to pick up the carbine to help deal with the jackals as well as the beam rifle. So what we're going to do here is pretty much just camo past this entire section until we get to the part with the jackals. So camo for the first time as soon as you come out of this door, and we're just going to head to this little alcove right under the brutes and wait for our camo to come back up. And as you can see, our hunter friends are distracting the brutes like champions. So when it's almost up, we're going to go ahead and jump onto this little part, and then camo again right here, and run right through this door. Make sure you do a jump here just in case one of these guys sees you. But he shouldn't follow you too far even if he does. Wrap around here, and then we're going to wrap around to the far side of this wall and camo again right here as soon as it's back up. And we're just going to walk over to this crate and do a head glitch right in it. We are even going to get a checkpoint right here, and as a recap for head glitching, since the Arbiter's head is in the crate at this point, the enemies cannot see us, therefore we are safe. As soon as the camo is back up, we're going to camo again, jump on top of the crate, jump over to this little balcony here, and we're going to jump right over here. We will lose our camo right around there, but just turn around and throw a couple of grenades, and you should be able to deter the followers. Going to speed the video up just a bit here. There are a few things I want to say about the end of this room, but the jackal clearing part is pretty much the same aside from the fact that we have a carbine, which makes clearing a bit easier. So I mentioned briefly in the main run there's a threshold we don't want to cross, and it's right here. You don't want to cross that in either run until the jackals are dead, because that is what triggers the phantom to come and attack us. So, now that the last jackal is dead, we're going to break that barrier, camo right here, and we're going to run up to the next stone partition here, and do a head glitch. Now the phantom, as you can hear in the background, should be on its way right now, and would be able to shoot us if we weren't head glitching. So as soon as our camo is back up, we're going to run out and pass these buggers. You do kind of want to make this a fast run, as it does run out about right here. Make sure you get off to the right a little faster than I did there, and we are through. There's nothing special to show for the prison in this run because it's just cleared normally, so I'm going to go ahead and finally rewind back to our original run here with the ghost. We are going to park our ghost right here for now, and the first thing we're going to do is free these hunters so that they can start creating chaos. After 3 brutes have died in the room, that far door will open. The hunters often help with this quite a bit. In fact, the door is opening right now. Also, brutes will often like to come around here and try to steal your ghost. It's nice to have at least one plasma grenade for the end with this strategy, so grab one here if you can. If not, we can get one in the next area as well. So you may need to check both sides here to see which one looks like the most likely route, as there's sometimes crates in the way. Then just hammer on through and knock those brutes aside and try to get into this next area. We now have just 4 more brutes to deal with here. The safest strategy is to stay back here and just shoot them with a ghost. Do be careful because they do love to chuck grenades back here and use their brute shot occasionally. And again, this is a great place to pick up the plasma grenades we need. In fact, he just dropped some there. Do be sure to grab at least a couple of them because we do want them to destroy our own Spectre in the final area. So, I believe that was the last brute there. We're going to get out and grab these grenades, and then we should see a cutscene soon. And we're going to skip the cutscene and immediately run back here into this door. Very important, if you have the ghost, you do not want to take the ghost back here with you, or this despawn will not work. We're going to walk all the way back here to this load zone. As soon as you see the loading text, you can go ahead and walk back out. And that will have despawned all the Wraith drivers, so you don't need to kill anything on the way. You can just hop into one of these Banshees and fly right over. So, there are 2 main strategies for doing the fight with Tartarus. The first, which we'll be doing in our main run here, is to get the Spectre into the control room and use it to clone several copies of Sergeant Johnson to make the fight with Tartarus go much faster. The second method is to get a Banshee into the control room, but we'll discuss that here shortly. So here, next to this rock that I am currently flying over like a moron, is the Spectre that we left at the very beginning of the mission. We're going to get out and camo and get into the driver's seat and then drive away as fast as we can because these other 2 Spectres here will be in the area and shooting at us. We're going to go over to the far left side of this cliff and kind of drop off slowly onto this little hill. If you do speed off there too quickly with too much height, you might actually hit the death timer on the way down, so do be careful of that. So, most people usually take the path off to the right here, and I will show that path as well, just in case, here in a few minutes, but I actually prefer going off to the left because I find it a bit easier and a bit faster. However, there is a small chance of getting the Spectre stuck completely and having to revert to checkpoint, and I'll point that part out when it comes, so just make sure to be aware of that. Make sure to hold the jump button again to raise the nose of the Spectre to get up on this little rock. And then we're just going to follow the path around here and get onto one of the little beams and then do a jump over the top of the control room. And I actually do mean over. Now notice when we get onto this beam and start boosting toward the top of the building, we do need to build up some speed because we want to jump over the close side of the roof. Because for some reason, if your Spectre lands on the close side, it will get completely stuck and it won't be able to move at all, and there's nothing you can do to free it. So watch here, we're going to get a little bit of speed and jump straight over and land about right here, and that will be perfectly fine. And I'm going to freeze right here. This is roughly the area you want to avoid, so as long as you clear this rectangle, you should be okay. And again, I will also be showing an alternate route with the Spectre that avoids this jump altogether to make sure you have options if you're struggling with one or the other. So, back to the run, you want to move down the side of this beam kind of slowly, and when you're about halfway down, you want to kind of spin off the side here, just to make sure you don't start tumbling down the side of this building. Then we are going to turn around and go down here by this Forerunner glyph. Go down here a bit slowly so you don't start tumbling again, and then we're going to put our nose up once more and do this jump right across. Make sure you do hold the jump button to put the Spectre's nose up. And now we can go over how we're actually going to get the Spectre into the control room. I like to use what I call the Silver Scorpion method. We're going to pay close attention to these marks on the Spectre right here. And what we're going to do is after Johnson finishes blasting open the door, we're going to very slowly drive our Spectre down here and then hold back and kind of let it fall off of the edge. And as soon as those marks are about even with this line right there, we're going to jump out and try to get ahead of the Spectre. And how this actually works is, right below that beam is a load zone for the final room, which allows us to skip using the main door and all the enemies leading up to Tartarus, and it just puts us directly into the fight with him. And if you have that Spectre in a very specific position when you hit that load zone, the Spectre will also be teleported into the area with you. That's all a bit complex, so I'm going to demonstrate it here in just one moment, but I also wanted to mention it doesn't really matter how fast you get here. As long as you get here before Johnson opens this door, you should be fine, so there is plenty of time to mess up the driving here, and it will still be okay. So now we just give Johnson a moment to knock on this door and see if the brutes are home, and then we will walk on inside. Or drive on inside, rather. Alright, so getting into the Spectre now, going to just tip over the edge, and again, go quite slow here. And as soon as you see those two yellow arrows get over the side, hold back, we're going to jump out and in. And as soon as you see that cutscene, you know we are good to go. Before we tackle the last part here, I'm going to cut over real quick and show the alternate driving route as well as the Banshee route. I've sped this part up a bit for time's sake, and there really isn't too much to mention until we get to the end of this route. This is the route that most people do prefer taking, but I do find it a bit more troublesome than taking the route to the left, just because you have to hit the side of the building at a bit of an odd angle to do one of the climbs here, and I'll show that in just a moment. But the benefit of this side is you don't have to worry about getting stuck on that small section and soft locking yourself. So I've slowed it back down to show that we kind of want to wrap around the far side of this slope and go straight down from the top so we don't tumble. Then, getting onto this dome is a bit weird here. Watch the angle I'm coming at here closely, as it is a bit of an odd one. After you're on this dome part, you want to boost yourself up to that small shelf. I actually made a mistake here. I held the jump button during this boost and got a little too much air and bounced right off the wall. No big deal if that happens, just go down the dome a little bit and try again. This time without holding the jump button, and you should get right on the shelf. Now, we just need to drive over to this section and we find ourselves in the exact same place we were when we came down from the roof in the previous driving section. All we need to do now is do this series of jumps over to this beam with the rune on it again, and we will be in the exact same position to drop down into the control room as soon as Johnson arrives. Again, make sure you hold down the jump button right here when you do this boost to get the Spectre over to the other side. And now, for time's sake, I'm going to go ahead and cut and show one more alternate strategy real quick, which doesn't involve the Spectres at all, and that is how to very, very easily get in with the Banshee. And what we are going to do is fly the Banshee right into this corner and just sit there and wait for the cutscene. This strategy avoids all that Spectre driving, as you just fly the Banshee straight here instead of swapping for the Spectre, and it makes the Tartarus fight pretty much just as easy as with the Spectres, but it does take a little bit longer because you have less Johnsons to pop Tartarus' shield. So, let's see what this looks like here. We just sit straight here at the Banshee, and as soon as Delusions and Grandeur pops up across the bottom right of the screen, we are already in. I'm going to skip this cutscene, and we want to throw a grenade there and just throw right back. The Spectre will normally be right here, but the Banshee is actually a bit further down the hallway because we used a different point to get it in. And I'm not going to show the full fight with the Banshee. You pretty much just stay back in the air, shoot Tartarus with the fuel rod cannon whenever Johnson pops his shield, and watch out for the ads coming from the platform as they love to throw plasma grenades at you. But with all that said, let's finally get back to the main run here and we will finish off this video. So what we're going to do is throw that grenade and then turn around and find our Spectre has fallen into the right place here. Then we're going to flip it and go get Johnson as our passenger. So since Johnson is basically required to kill Tartarus because he needs to shoot Tartarus' shield down with his beam rifle, the game constantly does checks to see whether Johnson is still alive. Johnson is invincible and can't be killed, but he can still be pushed off the edge and such, so to prevent soft locking, the game constantly does checks to make sure Johnson is still alive and spawns him if he isn't. But it does not check the seats of vehicles. So, when Johnson gets into our Spectre, the game thinks he doesn't exist anymore and spawns another one. That Johnson can then also get into our Spectre and spawn another, and so on. We can get up to 4 Johnsons total this way, but for speed, I like to go with just 2 in the Spectre, so 3 total. Once our second Johnson gets into the Spectre here, we can just boost right across and into this position. We can then get out here and use our plasma grenades to destroy this Spectre, and then the Johnsons will get out and hold Aggro and Tartarus and his adds if they come, and more importantly, they will just be constantly melting his shield with their beam rifles. So, while he's occupied, we're going to go ahead and go up this lift here where it's safe and grab these dual brute plasma rifles. And we're just going to come over here and peek over the edge, and as long as we park that Spectre in the right place, Tartarus should be right around this area, completely preoccupied fighting the invincible Johnsons, which leaves us free to wail on him with impunity from our position up here. Do note that the 3 waves of adds that are scripted to come as Tartarus takes damage will still come, but they do tend to just jump down and focus on the Johnsons that are on the main level with Tartarus. I don't think I even had a single one come up here and bother me this entire run. Also note that if Tartarus isn't in a position where you can just see him from right up here, you may need to jump down behind one of those dividers and just take some shots at him, or you could just leave the Johnsons to take care of him all by themselves. And, as you can see, with 3 Johnsons, at least one of them usually has a line of sight on Tartarus with his beam rifle. So as I demonstrated, getting the Banshee in here is quite a bit easier than getting the Spectre in here, but then you do have to deal with the RNG of only having 1 Johnson, who may or may not have a line of sight on Tartarus at any given point. I was just checking behind me for any adds there. Either way, whether you choose to use the Banshee or the Spectre, both are significantly faster than doing this fight the intended way. And I believe we are coming up right on the end of Tartarus' health here. And down he goes. And that is the end of the great journey. Look at all those adds, still trying to focus the Johnsons there. And here comes the final cutscene. And with that, our journey together finally comes to an end. Unless, of course, you're watching the videos out of order, in which case I will see you on whichever one you watch next. So, if you add up all the times for these guides, it equals just over 2 hours, or a tiny bit more if you use some of the slower alternate strats. But that still leaves you with right around an hour of leeway versus what you've seen done in these videos. The Monopolized achievement is quite a difficult one to pull off, and if you've just finished it with me here, big congratulations. It is a real accomplishment. But if you're still working on it, you can get it. If I can do it, you can as well. Thank you very much for joining me on this adventure. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch these guides, and I will see you if there is a next one. If not, you can usually catch me around in the Halo Syndicate Discord. Thank you very much for coming, and take care.
At superluminal speeds with the frequency of...
Communicating with what?
the other installations.
Show me.
Fail-safe protocol. In the event of unexpected shutdown, the entire system will move to standby status. All remaining platforms are now ready for remote activation.
Remote activation? From here?
Don't be ridiculous.
Listen, Tinkerbell, don't make me...
Then where? Where would someone go to activate the other rings?
Why the Ark? Of course.
And where, Oracle, is that?
We've got a new contact, unknown classification.
It isn't one of ours. Take it out.
This is Spartan 117.
Anyone hear me? Over.
Isolate that signal. Master Chief, you mind telling me what you're doing on that ship?
Sir, finishing this fight.
Silence fills the empty grave now that I have gone. But my mind is not at rest, for questions linger.